So I received an email from someone who was responding to an email that I had sent. And the email was about the need or the neediness of the ego for appreciation, for acknowledgement, all kinds of ways in which it needs to feel that it matters, it is significant. I won't go into the full message, but in response to that message came this email, which I'd like to share with you, and I hope that my response to this email will be useful to you. And so it goes like this. Thanks, Lucy, for your message today. After a bit of frustrating response to some hard work I had done, I was feeling pretty unappreciated. I will sit with this and see if I can let my frustration go. I find it hard to know when to push back when someone steps on my toes and when to just let it go. Life can be tricky. Okay, so I'm going to start giving you my response. First off, this is to anyone, to all of us. If you truly want to free yourself from suffering, then don't frame this situation as a call for a decision to be made about whether to push back or to let it go. In other words, don't make it a decision about what action to take. Rather, take it as an opportunity for an inquiry into your inner state of being. Now, that inquiry can take this very simple form. And it is through a question that you want to ask yourself. You get very present, you get very still, and then you ask yourself this question: how am I feeling? And the question is in response to the situation. As I think about the situation, if it is already past or if it's now happening, then you can still ask this question: how am I feeling? And especially, where in my body am I feeling this most? The idea is to really get into your body, into the sensations. And I'll explain why in a moment. As you give yourself permission to attend to the sensations, their energy will be given space, rather than be trapped by thoughts, by judgments, and any decision-making that you feel impelled to conduct. Now, you will know the difference between energy that is free to move and energy that is trapped. Trapped energy causes your body to constrict and tighten. Free energy, on the other hand, allows your body to feel open and spacious. When you have given this enough time, the sensations will reach a peak, and then they will either plateau or start to decline. And you can assist this process with some gentle, conscious breathing. And sometimes it may require deep breathing, especially if the sensations are quite intense. Then and only then should you continue the inquiry with this second question, which is: how would I like to feel as I recall the situation? Or if you are in the situation, how would I like to feel right now? Now, the answer to that question, and I want to make it very clear, the answer is independent of the actions or words of others, and it is also independent of your own actions and words. It is simply a question about how you would like to feel. It's not about what you need to do or what it will take for you to get there. Okay, so this is really, really important. It's a very powerful question. In fact, it's what I call a transformational question, because When you ask that question and then you answer it very simply, very directly, without thinking about the how it's going to happen, this is what happens. The transformation happens. You know, this is the amazing technology that our body-mind has, that by asking questions, it can immediately cause shifts, big, discernible, visceral shifts in your body-mind. So if you've never used this process before, I teach it all the time, but if you've never used it before, you might experience some resistance to it. Your mind will want to take you back to the situation, analyze it, ruminate, lament the injustice of it, and then conclude that you were wronged and that the only way to correct the wrong is to insist on some response from the offender, or at the very least, to tell the offender how they offended you and how they made you feel. If you find this happening, interrupt this pattern. This is a habitual egoic pattern. Interrupt it, and you interrupt it by refocusing on the question, how would I like to feel? You might ask this question in this way, how would I like to feel right now, which brings you even more sharply into the present. Once again, the conditioned, the habitual egoic mind will want to jump in and do what it has learned to do and give you an answer. And the answer will usually take the form of the opposite to the answer you had to the first question, which was, how am I feeling? So, for example, the answer to the first question was, as was the case with this person who sent me the email, if the answer to the first question, how am I feeling, is unappreciated, and by the way, that is a concept, not a feeling, the conditioned mind, the egoic mind, the habitual mind, will, because this is what's learned, if I'm feeling unappreciated, then how do I want to feel? I want to feel appreciated. The exact opposite, right? But that's not the level at which transformation happens. That's happening at the conceptual level. But transformation can only happen at the visceral, the body, the sensorial level. If there is a new thought or an idea or a concept that accompanies this shift in the body, in the sensations in the body, in the energy in the body, if there is a thought that accompanies it, you might consider that a moment of insight. But the transformation itself, the change from feeling bad or unpleasant or uneasy to feeling good or pleasant, is something that happens, it needs to happen in the body. So answer the question simply and directly by listening to your body, allowing your body to respond. In fact, you will find that if you are present, the question will trigger an energetic shift in your body. And whereas you might have been feeling tightness in your chest or a thickening, hollowing out in your solar plexus, a tightening in your facial muscles, a sinking feeling in your stomach, for example, when you ask this question, how would I like to feel, and you're totally present, it will trigger a release from these sensations. That is the answer you're looking for. You'll find it in your body. Now, you might be able to put some words around it, but really the words are not necessary. What's important is to just focus on the sensations in the body. Now, sometimes a feeling, which is a thought associated with an emotion, might trigger the energetic shift. What do I mean? So, for example, in when you are in a state of presence and you ask the question, how would I like to feel? It might prompt a response like light, or peaceful, or free, or easeful, or smiley, or on clouds. Who knows what your mind will come up with. But you see, the key thing here is that you are present and the response is coming in the present moment. Okay? So it is not a learnt response. Rather, it is a spontaneous one, true for that moment and only that moment. I hope you get what I'm trying to say here, because this is the key to it. Now, once you've come to this point, it's safe to say that you are now in love consciousness. You are home. You are in your true home, your true nature. This is the place in which you want to make any decisions, right? And you make the decision not by offering yourself a choice between two predetermined options, as the email suggested. Do I push back or do I let it go? Those are predetermined options. No, that's not what you're going to do. You're not going to offer these choices, but rather you're going to ask an open-ended question, such as, what would love have me do or say, if anything, in response to this situation? Or you could ask it this way: what would feel good to say or do in response to this situation? Again, stay present, listen to your body, and whatever arises in your mind, you will know that it is a response of love, because it will feel good. There's a sense of good relief, not stressed relief. A sense of peace, of joy, freedom, a sense of lightness and spaciousness. And then express an intention and a willingness to follow this feeling, this guidance of love. And you will know that you are following the guidance of love because it will feel good. Now, when I say good, I mean any state of feeling good, which could include feeling peaceful, for instance, feeling free, feeling light, feeling empowered, feeling hopeful, feeling strong, feeling open, feeling flexible, feeling like you could do anything, or just feeling like you just want to lay back and relax. Now, can you see that this is a kind of answer you are really seeking? And that this is a kind of answer that will guide you to the kind of action that you really want to take? This is a kind of answer that can only serve the good of all, rather than a reaction that feeds a needy ego, in this case, an ego that needs to be appreciated. Now, I just want to say something here. In offering you this process and this way of thinking, I'm not suggesting that people don't act unkindly, thoughtlessly, or that they don't intentionally seek to hurt. People do. We do. And I'm not suggesting either that there is never a time to let people know exactly and explicitly how you're feeling or what you would like. There is. So what am I saying then? Well, I'm saying this. In the case of people acting unkindly, thoughtlessly, or intentionally wanting to hurt, firstly, don't assume that you know their motivations. Secondly, don't assume that you must be the one to correct them. And thirdly, try to remind yourself that people, just like you, only do hurtful things when they are not in a good place. And they only do mindless things when they are not being mindful. And really, really, when it comes down to it, the best way of showing someone what's a better way of doing things is exactly that. Show it. In other words, model it yourself, rather than talk to them or try to lecture them or teach them or try to correct them. Again, as I said, there is a time and place for it, but when is the time and place is the question. So that's what I'm going to want you to focus on. You know, I hope by now, that the best response you can give is a response that comes from love consciousness, not ego consciousness. So if you want to do anything, if you want to know what to do, make sure that you are in a state of love consciousness. And so finally, in all situations, I don't care whether it involves people whom you've shared a long history with, whether it involves a large number of people or just one or two. It doesn't matter what the particular offense is or the hurt is. In every situation, the only choice that you really have to make, the only meaningful choice that you can make, is whether you want to respond from love consciousness or react from ego consciousness. Once you make that choice to respond from love consciousness, I suggest you follow the process that I've just described. Do not assume you know what the response will be, because to assume is to rely on memory, which is the domain of the ego. Memory gives us what we have learnt. It is past. It is the domain of the ego. Rather, a response from love can only be a response that comes in the present. And the present is the only time, so to speak, that love occupies. I hope you found this useful. I hope you will give this process a go. I hope you will learn to use this process, because I assure you it will never fail you. It will always place you in the consciousness of love. And I'm sure the fact that you asked the question that you've asked, or rather that you've made the comments that you've made, tells me that you are trying to discern what's the best thing to do. And if I tell you that the best thing to do in any and every situation is to respond from love, I am certain you will agree, right? So please do try to cultivate this technique or this skill, and let me know how you go. Thank you, and bye for now.